Well, good morning to all of my oily explorers. My name is Teresa Sanderson, and I just wanted to connect with you today and chat with you a little bit more about my personal experience with major depression, calling it a Mindful Monday. So just wanted to connect with you a little bit on this and share with you the impact some of my childhood memories had on me and how that, ultimately stayed with me all of my life, until I developed major depression in 2011. So I think it's interesting how powerful some of those memories can be in shaping what we believe is our self-worth and who we are and all of that kind of thing. So, anyway, some of my childhood memories, just so you know, one that really stands out in my mind, I had a birthday party when I was in the fourth grade and nobody came. Invited my entire class of 30 kids, and one girl came. And I was so grateful that she came, but at the same time it was embarrassing, it was humiliating, I didn't know what to do. And I remember that I just put on my best face, and that's when I feel like that's when I started, putting on my best face so that nobody would really know how I really felt about that. And so I went around as though nothing was wrong, as if nothing had happened that shouldn't have happened that day. And my parents and I never talked about it. I have to think that my mother would have also been heartbroken, right, to see that happen to her child. But it was it was a crazy thing. And so, I found that I don't think I ever really wept about that at that time, but believe me, in 2011, 12, 13, 14, I really shared some tears over that. Hello, Ginger. Thanks for joining me today. And other things that happened, I was also overweight. Hi, Sherry. I was also overweight. I was kind of the odd girl out. I wasn't popular. I don't want to say I wasn't very popular. I wasn't popular. I had a few close friends, but, I was never invited to, the big parties that I think we all want to be invited to as children and those kind of things. So I just learned to put this face on that kind of shielded me from everything out there. It was as if, I was aloof, nothing really mattered. Those kind of things didn't matter to me. I was just totally okay being me. And, as a young girl, 8, 9, 10 years old, and then on up through my high school years, I just continued to do the same thing. Just kind of stuff it all in there, stuff all those emotions in there, and don't deal with them. And that's really what I did, for a long, long time. And, another thing that was going on back then, we were not a rich family. My parents didn't have much money. And so, of course, I didn't always have the cool clothes. I didn't have the cool shoes. I didn't have the newest purses. I couldn't get my hair done at the great places and, all of those things. And so, was that really important? To me back then, it was very important. Looking on it now, of course it's not, but you don't know that when you're 10, you don't know that when you're 14, right? So anyway, that memory of that childhood birthday party, I just cannot tell you the impact that had on me as somebody who grew up. For instance, running, our own hospice agency, I just need to tell you that, we did that from 2004 till I got sick in 2011, and I spoke at national conferences, I consulted with physicians, I did all kinds of things, but always in the back of my mind, I wondered if anybody was really taking me seriously, if anybody really believed what I did, if I was really worth their time. Always felt just very, very self-conscious about, who I was and how did I dare to be in that space. So even though I had the talents, even though I had the gifts, and I truly believe that another way that this manifested for me was that I was big on over-preparing for anything and everything that I did. It had to be impeccable. It had to be flawless because I never wanted to have to be called on the carpet for something that maybe I didn't know. So I spent exhaustive efforts, to make sure that everything was perfect and as it should be. Hi, Robin. Thank you for being here. So, all of these things, I think when I went to the psychiatrist, like for the very first time, and I told you last week how surreal that was, just totally surreal. That, when they said, tell me about your childhood, I thought, oh my goodness. You see that in the movies. Tell me about your childhood. And, I didn't have a whole lot to say. You know, childhood is childhood. But one thing I noticed was that I don't really speak a lot about my childhood. I really don't. My children don't know a lot about my childhood. And, you know, that's what I realized at that time. So anyway, what ultimately happened for me, I'm going to move on to the next phase. And when I got started with therapy, you know, because therapy was wonderful, that good old talk therapy, just being able to find a counselor. And it did take me a couple of tries, at least 2 tries before I found somebody that I could really connect with. But when I found this gal that I could really connect with, what I likened my therapy to, because nobody can really imagine the dread that somebody can have going to therapy. I mean, believe me, there are some days when you just feel like, man, if it was another day, I couldn't wait another day to get there because I really need to unload some stuff. But then at the same time, there are those days when you're going, man, I really dread going because of everything it's going to stir up. Everything it's going to stir up in me. And because there's a lot of hard work that happens in recovering from major depression. And so what I did, because nobody could understand it, the best way that I could explain it was from a nursing perspective. And if somebody has a wound, you know, if you had a big open wound on your leg, you're going to put a big bandage on that, right? And you're going to keep it on there and you're going to wrap it tight and put a lot of pressure on it so that it doesn't bleed and that nothing gets into it. Okay, that's how we do that. But then at the same time, while that big bandage is on there, it gets dirty. It gets really dirty. It absorbs a lot of, you know, whatever's under there, any fluids, blood, whatever. And so you have to remove it. And taking that dressing off is what therapy was like for me. Taking it off is painful. Sometimes the gauze will stick to the wound bed and you have to pull that off. And sometimes you have to wet it. So there's the tears so that you can pull that gauze off of there. And then what do? Once you have it open, you clean it out a little bit, you know, and you inspect it from all sides. And that's really what therapy was for me, was taking a look at that wound from all sides and then gently recovering it with a new bandage until next time. So that's really how it felt for me. And, you know, for patients undergoing wound care, I now have a great compassion for them also. But for anybody who's going through therapy, I know what that's like, because we want to keep it all in. We don't want to have to look at it from every angle. We don't want anybody to know, because that is the utmost vulnerability. You know, when you take that off and you don't even really know how you're going to respond. But thankfully, I was faithful to both my medication regimens and also my therapy. And so that was all very wonderful for me. And what I've learned from going through all of that is that my past does not define me. I am not that little girl that nobody came to her birthday party. And as much as that is an awful memory to look back on, I'm not her. I'm not her. I have a wonderful group of friends who love and cherish me. So my past does not define me. Major depression can be overcome. I have learned that. I've learned that I must care for myself every single day, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is everything right with that, and we all should be doing that every single day. And I've learned that I must share the good, the bad, and the ugly with those I love who love me. I've got to share it all. You know, there were times when I was recovering from my depression that I felt like I don't want to be on the phone with my mother because I don't want to be crying. You know what? My mother loves me and would have wanted to hear from me, whether I was happy, sad, crying, whatever. She would have wanted to hear from me, but I stayed away from my family during a lot of that time. And so I learned that I've got to share the good, the bad, and the ugly with all of these people who love me. So affirmations that I use daily. I am strong and resilient. I am strong and resilient. I am loved and cherished by my Creator, my family, and my friends. I am enough. I hope this is helpful to you. You know, I so want to give some help and hope to anybody who's suffering with depression or any kind of a mental illness. It can be very isolating. It can be very just lonely. So I encourage you, use your oils, support yourself emotionally with oils. If you're having a blue day, diffuse some lemon or some citrus. If you need quiet time, diffuse some frankincense or sacred frankincense or Palo Santo that I've got in my diffuser right now. When you need to feel abundant, diffuse your abundance, apply it to your hands. Inhale. Use your stress away. Use your tranquil, your peace and calming. All of these oils are wonderful, wonderful tools to help support you during this time. So I want to thank you all for listening. I know this is kind of hard for me to share, but I do appreciate you kind of taking this journey with me, because I feel like it's important to share with as many people as possible so that they know that it can be overcome. I'm so grateful. You know, I had a wonderful weekend. I did more yesterday than I've done in a long time. And, you know, I reorganized my office, reorganized my dining room, did all the laundry. It felt like what I like to say, the old me. And I just think, you know, every day I'm rediscovering the old me. So God bless your day. Have a wonderful, awesome, mindful Monday.